Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes.
Yet it appeared to me that no one at the flag officer level was addressing the safety risk posed by UAPs. Instead, pilots were left to mitigate these threats on their own without guidance or support.
We now have existing and former U.S. government officials who have told Congress that AARO and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft.
Those are just some of the interesting moments from this week's congressional hearing on UAPs, what many call UFOs. Former Pentagon insider turned investigator Luis Elizondo, retired Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, and independent journalist Michael Schellenberger all testifying before Congress this week. Elizondo was also featured exclusively here on NewsNation during our Confessions from a UFO Hunter special.
We're not alone. We are not alone in this universe, and it is a simple fact. And the U.S. government has been aware of that fact now for decades.
Let's bring in Nick Pope now, who investigated UFOs for the UK Ministry of Defense. Nick, good to see you again.
Thank you. Good to be back.
We're on the other side of this UAP hearing now. Any major moments standing out to you?
Well, I think it was that first clip that you played with Lou Elizondo basically being put on the spot by Chairwoman Nancy Mace and told, I want a yes or no answer. Is there a covert government program looking at crash retrievals? And he said yes. And follow-up question, is the purpose of this to reverse engineer the technology? And again, he said yes. And of course, this is the guy who was handling the UAP issue for the Pentagon. And, you know, he chooses his words very carefully, but it was not, yes, I think there might be. It was not, yes, somebody else told me. It was absolutely unequivocally yes and yes.
Tell me a little bit more about your time examining evidence of UAPs for the British government. The more you delved into it, did you become more or less convinced of the possibility of alien life?
More convinced, because consistently we had this proportion of cases that we couldn't explain in conventional terms, where these things were running rings around the cutting edge of our own technology. And we heard, of course, some testimony about that this week. And so when we got those sorts of cases, you just think, if it's not our technology, and if it's not adversary technology, and if it's not misidentifications of some ordinary objects or phenomena, there's frankly not much left. And that's why we need more hearings. And of course, the great news is we have another hearing actually coming up on Tuesday, this time in the Senate.
You know, the Ministry of Defense said that it was open-minded, but there was no evidence to suggest that any UFO sightings posed any threat to the UK or that they were extraterrestrial in origin. After working the colloquially called UFO desk there, do you agree with that stance?
No, not really. And frankly, I think I wrote that line. I think I remember drafting something like that for our public affairs folks back in the early 90s.
Why did you write it? Why did you write it?
Look, our job, really, I know this sounds terrible, but in a sense, we wanted to get the British Parliament, the media, and the public off our backs. We were getting a lot of hassle on this, and we just tried consistently to play down the true extent of our interest in this subject and our involvement in it. And it was a line that I had inherited, but I had to carry on that policy. And I apologize for it now. It's, you know, not something I'm proud of.
I appreciate you being so forthcoming on this. What questions do you still have? What questions would you pose at the next hearing?
Well, I think one hint that was dropped, which I think we want to hear more about, is the UAP that have been detected on satellites. So more about that. But also, both Lou Elizondo and Tim Gallaudet talked about essentially a sort of dirty tricks campaign against witnesses and against whistleblowers to kind of smear their names, maybe to kind of dissuade other people from coming forward. I think we want to know about that, and I hope that Congress will keep pushing and say that this is absolutely unacceptable.
Nick Pope, always appreciate your time. Always good to see you. Thank you so much.
But first, it is a privilege also to welcome to the program in person
one of the country's most distinguished voices in the field of theoretical physics and popular science, Dr. Michio Kaku. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I've been a fan for a long time, so it's an honor. Professor Kaku's most recent book, it's The God Equation, The Quest for a Theory of Everything. So first of all, Dr. Kaku, tell us, you watched the special. What do you make of these claims? Do you find them believable?
Well, first, I think Elizondo has done a public service by releasing this mountain of classified data, which gives us hard numbers for the first time. We now know for the first time that these objects can drop 80,000 feet within a matter of a few seconds. Our aircraft can't do that. These things can zigzag, creating G-forces that would crush anything metallic. In other words, they're probably robots of some sort inside these objects. They can even go underwater. However, there are limits to what he said. For example, the dead bodies. We have yet to see alien DNA. That would clinch it right off the bat. Right off the bat, that would clinch the whole debate. Alien technology, alien transistors, we don't have that. People talk about that, but we have yet to see evidence of alien technology that we scientists can then dissect in the laboratory. That's a weakness of his story.
How would we even know, though, if it's alien DNA? Would we have a way of figuring it out? Because in the special, he mentions that the biologics, as they call them, got passed around from government agency to government agency.
Yes, well, we know quite a bit about how computations are done mechanically through abacuses and different kinds of devices, including transistors, which require electricity. So if we get alien technology, they would probably be atomic. They would probably have a whole new way of dealing with computation. So immediately we would know that it's extraterrestrial. But no one has given us alien DNA, alien transistors, alien technology that would end the debate right then and there.
Right. Yeah, we want to see it with our own eyes. That's what I think is so interesting. The video released by the Pentagon, which you were alluding to, the Tic Tac, that's stuff that we can actually see. Right. That we can't explain, that we know exists. In terms of the biologics, we still haven't seen it, but it's interesting in the special, they showed a photo of what they say is believed to be something that was inside a human body that may have been put there. I want to play this part again just so people can see it, and then we'll talk about it.
We came across information that suggested that people were having things put inside their body that they did not give approval to.
So right? People have been taken away from their homes in the middle of the night and had things planted in them.
Something that was put inside their body, something invasive, right? Something that was not put there by their permission to do something.
You've seen one of those implants, haven't you?
I have been privy to some very interesting things.
This photo, he says, shows one of those interesting things. It's allegedly a biological sample removed from a US service member and submitted for analysis. This is possibly an alien implant.
Well, if you look, there's actually a piece of the chip sticking out and what appears to be these fibers that were moving on their own. And then it looks like this chip or whatever this is, this foreign object, is encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
This is like where I think I get a little skeptical. What do you make of that? I mean, is this believable to you?
The smoking gun would be DNA evidence. No one has done a DNA sequence of that, so who knows? It could be organic, it could be a mutation of the person's own body. But we can decide by analyzing the DNA of that. So I wonder, how come it hasn't been done already? It should have been done years ago, and so there's no more guesswork because we have the technology to decide what is extraterrestrial and what is not.
Do you think it's possible that it has been done, but just in secret? That, you know, there are these secret government programs, that they've got these things, they're testing them, and they've just managed to keep it out of the public eye?
It's always possible that the government is hiding something. I mean, how do you disprove a negative like that? You can't. However, take a look at this object. This object was there for public viewing. Anyone could have taken a little piece of that and then analyzed the DNA to decide where it came from. So that's what I'm saying. We have to use high-tech technology in order to understand exactly what alien technology is about.
Nick, what's your reaction first to this All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, also known as AARO? That's the place where they can upload the info that they see, the employees, and then the rest of us actually get to consume what the government knows.
Yes, they've existed for some time, but this website went live today, and it is a step in the right direction for sure. But on the other hand, it is something that has been mandated in the current defense bill that they should do. So they are really only fulfilling a remit that they have had for some time and are actually a little bit late on. But it's good news that the big complaint from people will be, look, this is for the government and the military. What about the public? There's still nowhere for them to report their sightings.
Former NASA astronaut, although once an astronaut, always an astronaut, Mike Massimino has a book out, Moonshot, a NASA astronaut's guide to achieving the impossible. He joins us now, Columbia professor as well. Now, it's great to see you. I'm proud, you know, as an Italian-American, to have you in our ranks out there in space twice. What will people, Mike, learn from the book about what you learned in your own journey and how hard it was for you to become an astronaut and what it means for their own lives and goals?
Well, thanks, Chris. There's a lot of lessons I learned at NASA in leadership and perseverance and teamwork, and they apply not to just fixing the Hubble Space Telescope in space, but also to our lives on Earth. If you're working in a cubicle or working at home or dealing with family. But the one thing I want to mention is, especially with some of the the stories you've been covering, I've been watching, and the bad stuff that we hear about. That we should be amazed at our planet. And when I looked at our planet from space, a thought that went through my mind is, this is a view from heaven, and that was replaced by another thought, which was, this is what heaven must look like. And it's a beautiful planet. It's a complete paradise. And I brought that experience, I write about it, but I brought it back to Earth with me, and I try to take a break every day and appreciate where we are, whether it's a walk through the park, or looking out the window of an airplane, or just seeing people's faces on the New York City subway. We have a lot of beauty and things to appreciate here on Earth. And it's a planet, a home that we all share no matter where we are in the world. And so that's some of the things I realized in space that I try to bring back to Earth and share with others.
People think astronaut, top of the top, must have been, a straight coast for a genius like Massimino. But it took you several tries to get in there, right?
It did, Chris. NASA makes an announcement every few years they're looking for astronauts. The first time I applied, I was rejected outright, got a letter back. Second time, I tried again. A few years later, got another letter back. Third time, I got an interview. I was getting close. I went in for the interview. It also includes a full medical exam. It's a week of activity. I failed the medical. I was medically disqualified from my eyesight. They told me there was nothing I could do about it, but I learned about vision training, something done with kids. I begged the optometrist to help me. I said I could be very immature. She wouldn't know the difference between me and the kids. And she helped me. I was able to train my eyes and my brain to see a little bit better and get requalified to apply a fourth time. And that's when I got picked on my fourth try. So as long as you try, you have a chance. And nothing is really impossible. And my definition of failure is not trying. As long as you're trying, I think you're successful. Right. Even if you don't ultimately get there, putting in that effort and not giving up is what's most important.
That's the message that I wanted. Now, I'm going to bring you back. We'll talk about NASA and its need to study what's in the air and space around us. You're not a UFO guy per se, but you're open.
Oh, sure.
And you believe that the government should be studying it and should be telling us what it knows.
Yeah, and I think NASA's doing the right thing. They had a pretty in-depth study that finished up a couple months ago, and now they appointed a person to be the director of, they don't call them UFOs anymore, it's unidentified aerial phenomenon.
UAPs.
But there's a percentage of these things we don't know what they are, and so we need to identify those. And there's also some very exciting findings that we're finding, even in our own solar system, the building blocks of life that I think is very exciting.
Well, this week, the nation watched as whistleblowers and former military members stepped forward with what they claim is a government cover-up of UFOs and non-human life forms during a historic congressional hearing. But now, a top Pentagon official calling those testimonies insulting. NewsNation's Evan Moon live for us on Capitol Hill with those new details. Evan.
That's right, Natasha. Just a few days ago, right here in this building, Congress held a first-of-its-kind hearing on UFOs, non-human life, and what some believe to be a potential government cover-up. Now, a top Pentagon official is calling these claims insulting to employees who are investigating these sightings and accused one key witness of not cooperating with the government U.S. investigation. Pentagon official Sean Kirkpatrick claimed that whistleblower and retired intelligence officer David Grush, whose groundbreaking claims were first reported on a NewsNation exclusive interview, should be taken seriously, and that certain claims made in Wednesday's hearing were not credible. During his testimony, Grush made some astonishing accusations, saying the U.S. government had biologics of non-human life form and that those who came forward with any information had been hurt.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities. Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge.
Now, congressmen leading these investigations into these accusations say they will continue to press the Pentagon for answers and potentially hold hearings or field hearings to get any evidence of these claims. Natasha.
Okay, Evan Moon on Capitol Hill with that report. Thank you.
This is essentially all of the data we have associated with this event from some years ago. It is going to be virtually impossible to fully identify that just based off of that video.
That was the director of the Defense Department's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office saying the U.S. is investigating more than 650 UFO sightings. And also you saw some of that new video that was declassified showing an unidentified object moving in and out of frame. Well, 650 is a jump from the 366 new sightings released in a January report. Joining us now to discuss, filmmaker and UFO investigator Jeremy Corbell. Jeremy, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we know the U.S. is now tracking more than 650 potential UFO sightings, and of that, they say 171 defy explanation, unexplained. You're one of the foremost experts on UFOs. What are your sources telling you about that sheer number?
Right. Well, there's no real expert on UFOs. UFOs have always remained a mystery, and this has been with humanity a long time. This isn't a new phenomenon. The difference today is that we have a forward-facing UFO program to study these anomalies. As Senator Gillibrand said in the UFO hearing, is that we know there are craft of unknown origin that are advanced, more advanced than the United States, and they're not ours. So that in itself is the problem. You know, she said, we don't know who made them, where they are from, or how they operate. So this is the essential point of the UFO puzzle. Somebody has these craft, and it's just a matter of finding out who.
What's to say this isn't just advanced tech from another country like Russia or China versus actually being extraterrestrial in origin?
Right. Well, we don't know where UFOs are from. We don't know the intent, but we do know that it's not our technology. And if it is another adversarial nation, if it's Russia or if it's China, we're in big trouble because they represent a propulsion, a technology that is so far beyond what we have now. We'd be in really deep water. The problem is that the UFO puzzle, this mystery, has been with us since human beings have taken flight. If you listen to the pilots and the service people that have engaged UFOs, like Commander David Fravor has chased one for the United States government, this is not a technology that we can easily say is another foreign nation.
Okay, and then we were just taking a look at that video. Would love for you to take a look at it. That mysterious silver shiny orb, this new video just released in the last week, the Pentagon tracking this object. What can you tell us about this object, and are there more like it?
Yeah, well, that's the big deal. See, this organization, AARO, to study UFOs, they eliminate things like balloons or birds or pilot error or sensor error. So what we're looking at when there's an unresolved case is something that is truly anomalous until we can figure out what's going on. That is not an aerodynamic shape. You might know that I obtained and released with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp, into this orb from 2016 called the Mosul orb. It was in the UFO files of our government, and it was leaked to us as an example, and it was shared with our service people, educating them on what UFOs look like. 51% of UFOs are spherical without known means of propulsion.
Okay, I appreciate that. Does the Mosul orb have you convinced that there is extraterrestrial life that is advanced beyond our imaginings?
Look, I think it would be a lack of imagination not to understand the vastness of the universe. Of course, there's advanced intelligent life. The big question is, are they coming here? And the bigger question that AARO has to answer is, have we been reverse engineering technology not made here on Earth? And I know for a fact that Dr. Kirkpatrick has received testimony from 24 whistleblowers telling him that there are UFO exploitation programs of hardware and where to find it. So that's a hurdle he's going to have to jump when it comes to verifying that information.
All right. I wish we had more time. It's a big topic, but I really appreciate your time tonight. Jeremy Corbell, thank you so much.
Thanks for covering this.